All right, guys, what's going on? SteelTwins coming back at you with week NFL predictions. This time it is week 13, and I am joined today, member of Discord chat, with David. How you doing, bro?
I'm good. How are you? I'm excited. It's an exciting week of football.
Yes, it is. You know, we're heading into December football, so let's just get right into it. Right out the gate, we got the Seattle Seahawks at the Dallas Cowboys for Thursday Night Football. David, what's your prediction here?
I feel like this seems like an easy decision. I feel like Seattle is definitely going to struggle with Dallas. I think Dallas is going to win. I feel like the defense is going to make an impact early on, and it's just going to be a horrible night for Seattle's offense.
Yeah, this year Seattle they haven't been the team like last year. They have definitely struggled, especially the past two games where they're on the 2-game losing streak. So going on the road against the Cowboys, who have put up dominating performances, you know, although it's against lesser competitions, it's what you would want to see, you know, with the talent that Dallas has against lesser competition. That's exactly what they should be doing. And it's going to be a tough battle for Seattle to try to get a win on the road here, but I don't know if Seattle can really pull it off. You know, they're really going to try. They're going to bust their ass out there. They're going to play hard, but I think in the end Dallas gets the victory at home in prime time.
You never really know, though, because Dallas plays down to competition. I mean, look what happened against Arizona.
That is true. Early in the year, you know, somehow Arizona was able to pull off their first victory against Dallas. Somehow, some way. So, I mean, it could be one of those weeks where Dallas falls asleep. Dak Prescott goes on a turnover type of play style. So, you never know, but I think Dallas can get the victory here. Sunday games, we got, to start off, the Indianapolis Colts at the Tennessee Titans. What's your prediction here?
Well, certain situation, this is a divisional matchup. It can go either way for any type of division, to be honest. I feel like it's going to be close for the first half. In the second half, I feel like not Malik Willis, sorry. I forget his name.
Will Levis, right?
Will Levis. They drafted 2 quarterbacks recently. It's easy to forget.
Yeah.
Will Levis is going to start throwing out strong in the second half, and I think Tennessee is going to beat Indianapolis, which could be key for playoffs.
Yeah, it really could, because the Colts, I think, based off the standings, they're in the running for their division, that's for sure. You know, they're second place in the AFC South. I don't know if they're in the wild card or in the run. I have to take a look at that, but somehow, even without Anthony Richardson, you know, the Colts are remaining competitive with Gardner Minshew at quarterback. Their defense has had some moments here and there. You know, they got a lot of talent. Tennessee is pretty much on the rebuild type of season here, you know, trying to see if Levis is the guy for them since he stepped in when Tannehill went down. He's had his positives, but he's also had his negatives, so that's pretty much what Tennessee's going to try to figure out the rest of the way. Since it's in Tennessee, it could go in Tennessee's favor. You know, they got a home field advantage, but with the playoffs, you know, nearing and the playoff picture winding down, you know, the Colts are going to want it. I think they're going to want it more in this game. I think I'm gonna have to go with Indianapolis on this one. Next game, we got the Los Angeles Chargers at the New England Patriots. Good God Almighty, what's your prediction?
Well, here's my thought process. Los Angeles, we don't really know if Staley is going to be the coach there next year, or even the rest of the season. Like, if they fall out of playoff contention, are they going to fire him like Carolina did? Belichick, we don't know if he's going to retire next season. With how this team's looking, Mac Jones is not their guy. That's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's a defensive matchup, but I think Los Angeles has the better offense. I'm going to give them the edge. I think it's going to be close, but I just think they have the better quarterback and the better offense, and that's what's going to come down to.
Yeah, for sure. You know, this game could definitely be a lot closer than anticipated because, you know, the Chargers, they've had a big down year despite Keenan Allen having probably his best season of his career. You know, they're 4-7, I believe. They're coming off a tough Sunday night loss against Baltimore. New England, I mean, it's a disaster over there. They're in quarterback purgatory. Mac Jones is playing awful. Bailey Zapp's not that much better. I mean, they're just trying to get through the season the rest of the way. And see, with this one, New England and their offense, I mean, it's been bad, but they are going up against arguably the worst defense in the NFL. So it could be a game where they can keep it competitive and they can keep it close and maybe get a victory. but I mean, I don't know if they can really hold out or hold up with the Chargers offense and their offensive weapons with Allen and Eckler and Herbert trying to get the ball towards them. So I think the Chargers get the victory, but I don't think it's going to be pretty. And I do think that Brandon Staley does get fired. If not before the end of the season, definitely at the end of the season, because he's not the coach to go with the Chargers. That's for sure.
No, I'm friends with a Chargers fan, and he is in pain with Brandon Staley.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, that much talent and you're performing like this. It's got to be frustrating to be a Chargers fan. So, next game we got the Detroit Lions at the New Orleans Saints. What's your prediction?
Well, I feel like the Lions are going to win, but the main issue here is Jared Goff going to be inconsistent? Is he going to turn over the ball? Is it going to be the new Lions, or is it going to be the same old Lions? I love Dan Campbell as a coach. I feel like he could be their coach of the future for a while. He is incredible how quick he has turned this team around. New Orleans is not a bad team, but I feel like they're not sure if Carr is going to be the guy of the future. They're still kind of rebuilding. I got to give it to Detroit.
Yeah, I think it's hard to go up against Detroit, especially at this current rate that they're going. You know, they're having their best season in a long time. Dan Campbell is definitely the coach for them. He really oozes like Bill Cowher kind of vibes with his attitude and his presence as a coach and how he is with the players and everything like that. You do make a good point about Jared Goff and his mistakes and turnovers. You know, heading into December football and the playoff picture, it's really going to come down to what type of Jared Goff we're going to see with the Lions. And that could really, with his turnovers, that could really be their kryptonite, as it kind of showed last Thursday on Thanksgiving against Green Bay. And Green Bay pulled off a big victory, arguably an upset against Detroit. And that was due to Jared Goff's turnovers. So the rest of the way, toward the end of the season, the playoffs, that's something to definitely keep an eye on. As for New Orleans, I'm not going to lie, I expected a little bit more from them this season. You know, that division, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Atlanta is in first place, but they got a losing record or something like that. So New Orleans still, you know, has the opportunity to step up and perform better and play better and take the division. But at this rate, I anticipated a bit more from Derek Carr and their weapons. You know, their defense is doing what they can, but the offense has been an absolute disaster. You know, Derek Carr has not looked like the guy for them. But I have to agree. I think I'm going to go with Detroit. It's hard to bet against them, and they're going to want to get a victory, you know, keep that momentum going and try to fight for first place, since Philadelphia is holding that at the moment. But I think Detroit gets a victory in the end. Next game, we got the Atlanta Falcons, who I just mentioned is first place for their division, at the New York Jets. What is your prediction?
This is one of those games where you don't really want to pick, because I feel like it's just going to be bad for both teams. Both teams are inconsistent. New York doesn't even have their technical starting quarterback playing anymore. They made him the third string. Rodgers, when did he say he was going to come back exactly?
He said, what was it, week 15 or week 16?
So we might be looking towards that in the future, but not yet. I just think Atlanta has the better quarterback going into this, and that's about it. Both teams, I don't think, are good at all. So I'm going to give it to Atlanta.
Yeah, you see, I mean, both teams are struggling this year. Atlanta's first place in their division because that division is completely struggling. Definitely the worst division in the NFL. That alone, with them holding first place in the playoff picture at the moment, you know, they could continue to fight and step up. But with their quarterback situation, it's kind of unknown at the moment, very inconsistent. You know, the usage of their weapons, you know, Robinson and Pitts, and even Drake London at times, you know, it's very inconsistent. Their defense can only do so much. The Jets, their defense is the only thing about them. But outside of that, I mean, they got Tim Boyle starting for the second straight week. But even then against Miami, he threw a pick six on a Hail Mary. I mean, how the hell is that even possible?
Well, it happens all the time in Madden.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. Like, he made a Madden moment come true. And that's the Jets for you in a nutshell, pretty much, this season. Or just with their franchise altogether. I think I have to agree. I think I'm gonna have to go with Atlanta here. I mean, there's only so much the Jets defense can do. I mean, they're gonna have to score for for the Jets because their offense can't. Pretty similar to the Steelers earlier in the season. But I think Atlanta, in the end, somehow manages to get the victory on the road. Next game, got the Arizona Cardinals traveling to the Pittsburgh area to face the Pittsburgh Steelers. What is your prediction, David?
Oh boy, how do we decide this? Are we gonna is the offense gonna keep up like it was last week? Are we gonna have 300 yards? Could we go back to 400 yards again? I don't know. I'm just praying that we're not gonna go back to a struggling offense another week. I'm a Kenny Pickett believer. I feel like we are gonna have in good offense this week. We are not gonna put up as many yards, but we are gonna put points up on the board. Arizona has Kyler Murray back. I feel like he's going to do good, but eventually that Pittsburgh defense pressure is going to get to him, even though he's mobile. I think the Steelers are going to win 23-14.
Yeah, see, this game, it could really be, excuse me, it could really be much more closer than some people may think because despite Arizona's record and what they've been through all season, just getting Kyler Murray back, a couple weeks ago, they're 2-10. But they're much more competitive than what their record says. They still got a lot of talent. They're a team that's definitely in the rebuild phase, trying to stack the team with a lot of young talent, a lot of pure talent at that, with a new head coach. Pittsburgh coming off their best performance all season last week against the Cincinnati Bengals. Their offense garnered over 400 yards for the first time in 59 games. First time in the first game without Matt Canada as the OC. Goes to show you, who the main problem really was on the offense. Already in one game, you've seen Muth finally utilized properly, having a career high, his best game thus far in his career. Kenny Pickett looked much more composed. He looked much more better. He was even more. What's the word I'm looking for?
Consistent.
Yeah, just a little bit. He wasn't exactly bad, but he wasn't exactly great. He had a very good performance. That's what I'm trying to say. He didn't force anything. He threw the ball down a little bit more than what we're used to seeing. It's stuff I like to see from Kenny Pickett, and I'm hoping that we see a little bit more of that against Arizona, a little bit more consistency from the offense altogether through the air, on the ground with the running game. And the defense going to have to pressure Kyler Murray and stop their targets just as much as well. I think getting a big win on the road against Cincinnati, having all that momentum, all that boost right now for Pittsburgh, they got a lot of momentum on their side. I think it continues, and I think they get a victory back at home in Pittsburgh at Heinz Field. I think they beat the Arizona Cardinals and go to 8-4, surprisingly.
It is a much-needed win with Baltimore on the bye week.
Exactly. That's a great point. Baltimore's on the bye week, so considering that the Steelers are right now, I think second place in the North. Yeah, it's a big game for the Steelers to win. So, next game we got the Miami Dolphins at the Washington Commanders. What is your prediction?
I'm just gonna make this prediction with one word. I think it's gonna be a blowout. I think Miami is gonna dominate the game.
Yeah, pretty much took the words right out of my mouth. I don't really see Washington really sticking toe-to-toe with Miami like they did with Philadelphia. It seems like Philly's the only team that they wanted to show up and step up against, but every other team, forget about it. So it's like, give me Miami. Simple as that, for real. Next game, we got the Denver Broncos at the Houston Texans. What is your prediction?
I can see this going either way. Denver, they are not the same team as last year. They might have struggled a bit early on, but what are they? Don't they have like the longest win streak right now? Don't they have like 5 wins in a row?
5 straight wins, surprisingly.
That's big coming into December football, getting closer to those playoffs. But they are going up against a pretty good offense with CJ Stroud leading that offense, making Houston a possible playoff contender within 1 year. They barely lost to Jacksonville. I cannot explain how close that was in that field goal hitting off the crossbar. I think Houston needs a win, and they're going to win this week.
Yeah, both teams are 6-5. Both teams, mainly Denver at the moment, five straight wins. It's pretty incredible. You wouldn't really expect that from how Russell Wilson has kind of, he's not prime Russell Wilson anymore. He's really fell off in his career, but he's having a much better bounce back season than I think a lot of us kind of thought or imagined, with Sean Payton as a head coach for Denver. You know, Denver's got a lot of momentum on their side, but they're going on the road against a team that is quickly and fastly rising up the boards in the NFL. With C.J. Stroud, you know, as the quarterback, head coach D'Amico Ryan's the talent that they got. Both these teams are going to need a big win, but I think Houston, especially since it's in Houston, I think they're going to want it more. I think they could be the team that could dethrone Denver with their winning streak, and I think Stroud's just going to want it more. So give me Houston with this one. Next game, we got the Carolina Panthers at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What's your prediction?
Oh God. Well, again, it should be close. You don't know what they're gonna do. You don't know how Tampa Bay is gonna come out. Didn't they say Baker was hurt in the game last week?
Early in the game, Baker was hurt, but then he came back in later on.
Okay, so we don't know if it's lingering or not.
Yeah, correct.
That's the thing. It might affect his play style, which we've seen in the past. Baker normally lets injuries affect him. But Carolina, they got rid of Frank Reich. That's the important thing. And I've noticed a lot this season when teams get rid of their coaches or offensive coordinators, that team improves immediately. I think getting rid of Frank Reich is what they needed to do, and Carolina is going to beat Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I mean, I think I have to agree with you. You know, this could be a upset of the week, quote unquote, you know, because, Carolina's just completely cleaned house, you know, this past week. Frank Reich is no longer there. They even fired quarterback coach Josh McCown and even assistant head coach, running back coach Deuce Staley. So it's like it's a completely different scenery over there for Carolina and for Bryce Young, you know, and it's probably the shot of adrenaline that they need because they were getting nothing going, only one win. They're 1-9. Arguably the worst team in the NFL. It's a shot of adrenaline that they desperately needed, and that Bryce Young needs, considering, you know, that everything that they traded away for, you know, talking about the draft season, you know, looking at how C.J. Stroud has been performing and Bryce Young, it's like, seems like Carolina obviously made a big mistake taking Young over Stroud, and it's like at the moment, you know, considering what they got rid of to get and select Bryce Young, they got to make the most of it. You know, they got to try to salvage whatever they can with that situation that they did. Tampa Bay, you know, I mean, they're here and there this season, very hot and cold at times, but with a new change of scenery, you know, and a shot of adrenaline that Carolina needs, you know, I think they can get the upset and pull the victory off here on the road. I can absolutely see that 100%. Next game, we got the Cleveland Browns at the Los Angeles Rams. What is your prediction?
Well, Cleveland needs to win this to stay in AFC North and playoff contention. That's my personal opinion, because they lost Watson, which, depending on who you may are, that could have been a blessing in disguise, or it might affect the rest of your season. I see a lot of people saying Cleveland are going to fall downhill with these next couple of weeks. Los Angeles, they put up 37 points against Arizona, but Cleveland is not the same defense as Arizona. Let's be honest with that. Cleveland is a really good defense. I think Los Angeles is going to win this just because their quarterback, it's Stafford. He has the veteran presence. I think it's Stafford still, at least, starting.
Yeah, correct.
But I think Los Angeles is going to win it close.
Yeah, I think this game could absolutely be close. With Cleveland's quarterback situation, I heard that Dorian Thompson Robinson was in concussion protocol, so I don't know if he's going to be available for this game. If not, it'll obviously be P.J. Walker. But I think regardless with whoever's starting, you know, it's a struggling quarterback situation, even with Watson out. You know, even when Watson was in, it was still, you know, not good. But now with Watson out, it's arguably worse. Their defense is definitely what's going to have to keep them going for the rest of the way. Not just this game, but the rest of the way. You know, with the division, you know, the Ravens are on the bye. Steelers got, you know, a favorable matchup against Arizona. Cleveland's definitely going to want to try their best to win this one, to stay in the ranking of the AFC North. That's for sure. You're right about that. The Rams, I could say the same thing because Seattle's going up against Dallas, which is not an easy matchup for Seattle based on how they performed, and they're on the road. So the Rams are definitely going to want to try to play hard and play to win, to try to take second place, if I'm not mistaken, in the division, or keep it close in the division, you know, because they're still in the rankings for a possible playoff spot. So considering that it's in Los Angeles and Cleveland's Cleveland at the end of the day, despite the talent that they got, great defense, but it's Cleveland. You know, the Browns are the Browns. I think the Rams are going to be able to pull off a victory. You know, it's going to be close, highly defensive in my opinion, but I think the Rams get the victory at home. Next game, we got the San Francisco 49ers at the Philadelphia Eagles, an NFC Championship rematch. What is your prediction, David?
This is going to be a big matchup. Personally, I do not understand how they did not make this Sunday Night Football. It should have been a primetime game. But it's going to be huge. It's San Francisco, a super-powered offense with a great defense versus Philadelphia. The same thing for them. These two teams played in the playoffs last year, which the result could have been different if Purdy was not hurt. I think it might have been. We've seen this last year with playoff rematches, with how they had Kansas City and Cincinnati play in the regular season, and how that normally works out. But Philadelphia struggled with Buffalo. That's pretty certain that they did. Buffalo is not exactly the team they have been. I got to give it to San Francisco. I feel like they are going to technically pull off the upset if you want to be technical with it, and it's going to be detrimental to those standings in the NFC.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, this absolutely has NFC playoff picture, you know, situation to it, without a doubt. You know, Philadelphia's first place. San Francisco, you know, earlier in the season, they held that ranking. But, you know, they had a 3-game losing streak, but now they're starting to get the momentum back. You know, they're having good performances the past couple of weeks. I mean, so has Philadelphia. Although Philly last week at home against the Buffalo Bills, they went into overtime, and they were able to get the victory. But, I mean, no hate on Buffalo, you know, not to take anything away from Buffalo. But, I mean, Buffalo hasn't exactly been great this year. I mean, they have struggled a lot this year, especially Josh Allen. And Philly struggled against Buffalo at home. Now they're going to be hosting a much better team and a more competitive team and the better defense in the San Francisco 49ers. I mean, it could very well be time for Philly to lose, you know, considering that they are due for a loss. You know, I would say, you know, since they lost to the Jets and Zach Wilson, their only loss somehow. They lost to Zach Wilson, but
I don't get that.
yeah, I mean, it's the NFL, you know, any given Sunday, I suppose. But I think on the road, I think San Francisco can actually pull off the win here. I mean, this game could absolutely, and I agree, it should be Sunday Night Football, not the Chiefs and Packers that we'll get into. But I mean, we know why. But you know, someone had to get hurt on his first drive as a. Oh wait, no, never mind. I'm thinking the Jets. I'm thinking A-Rod still with Green Bay. That's my fault. My fault.
Anymore.
Yeah, my fault. But no, I think the Niners are going to go on the road, and I think they're going to get a victory here against Philadelphia. It should be a good matchup, though. A close matchup. Could very well come down to a field goal, but I think San Francisco gets the win. Now, Sunday Night Football, we got the Kansas City Chiefs at the Green Bay Packers. What's your prediction?
Well, point plain and simple for Kansas City, the receivers have to catch the ball. We've seen that both times they've lost, against Detroit and against who was their most recent loss? Was it Denver?
It was Detroit, Denver that happened. And what was it was Monday Night Football. It was Monday Night. Who did they lose to? I can't remember.
I can't remember either, but the receivers were having trouble dropping the ball.
Yeah, big time. All season.
That's been their consistent problem. They need to catch the ball. Kelsey is going to be there. They have Rashee Rice, who is looking like a good target for Mahomes recently. You got Green Bay, who obviously they're not the same team. They don't have Rodgers anymore. They're not struggling, but they're not doing the best, I'd say. I feel like you have to give it to Kansas City based on their team.
I mean, at the end of the day, despite, you know, the targets that they got at wide receiver, you know, Mahomes is going to be Mahomes at the end of the day. He's going to find Kelsey. He's going to find ways to win. You know, that's just how Mahomes is. That's just how the Chiefs are, you know, with Andy Reid and Mahomes, you know, together.
Or they're going to call flags for something that's not pass interference.
Or that, you know, that could happen too. I will give Green Bay this, you know, the past couple of weeks, you know, Jordan Love has stepped up big time. He's played a lot better. He hasn't turned over the ball as much as he did after week 2. And Green Bay's been a little bit more competitive. You know, I think they won their last, 3 or 4 matches, with the only loss being against the Steelers. Green Bay, Love's looking a little bit better, and if he keeps it up, I think Green Bay has a shot at potentially not only this game, but maybe even possibly edging out a playoff appearance, possibly. If he keeps it up, if he remains consistent, gets the ball to his targets, Watson, Reed, Dubs, guys like that, right? But I think in the end, on the road, I think you have to favor Kansas City, at the end of the day. It's the Chiefs. They're going to want it more. They're definitely an AFC favorite. I got to go Kansas City here. Monday night, to close out Week 13, we have the Cincinnati Bengals at the Jacksonville Jaguars. This would have been a favorable and a must-see Monday Night Football had Joe Burrow not gotten injured, but now it's pretty much hit or miss. Let's be real here. But what's your prediction?
Well, I gotta agree with you there. It would be an amazing game if Burrow was still healthy. You'd have Burrow against Lawrence, but you gotta think about the previous week going into this. I think Cincinnati let up over 400 yards to our offense. You cannot do that against what our offense has been doing, struggling. Jacksonville, they played Houston. It was a close game, but their offense looked great. The second half, Ridley and Lawrence looked like they were clicking on some cylinders here, like they were getting back into the beat of things. Lawrence and Christian Kirk are looking like a really good connection here. Etienne is a good running back when healthy. I think if a Cincinnati defense is going to give up yardage like that to a Pittsburgh offense, imagine what Jacksonville is going to do to that defense.
Exactly. You took the words right out of my mouth. I was just about to say that. Logically, if Pickett and the offense can do what they did, Lawrence and them, with Doug Peterson as head coach, they should have no problem. Without Joe Burrow, Cincinnati doesn't really have a shot the rest of the way. That's just the way I see it. Jake Browning's just only going to do what he can as a backup quarterback in his second career start in primetime on Monday night against Jacksonville. But you got to heavily favor Jacksonville, who's at home, who's got a lot of momentum coming off a big division win against Houston. And they're going to keep up the pace. And I believe Jacksonville is actually 8-3 at the moment, so they're going to want to continue stack wins this season. Continue to get on the rise and show that hey, they are an up and rising team, which they have shown in a variety amount of games this year. So I think Jacksonville gets a victory to close out Week 13, and that is the Week 13 predictions. And I want to thank David for joining me for the Week 13 predictions, man.
Yeah, I love being here.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for coming on, and that's pretty much it, guys. Let us know what you guys think about the video. Let us know your Week 13 predictions down in the comments below. And we'll see you next time. And, David, you are more than welcome to join me with the peace outro. So, without further ado, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you later. Peace!